Welcome back to Late Nights with Monica Price. And now my next guest on my Halloween show is none other than Garry Slade. Garry Slade, welcome to the show.
Thank you. Thank you.
Lovely to have you on. Now, people who don't know you, I first knew you as you were really, really good tribute act to, of course, the very famous Billy Fury. So tell us about that, how you started your career. In fact, it was Sidewinders, wasn't it, Garry? That was your very first band that you were with.
Yeah, in the early 80s, I formed a band called the Sidewinders, which were, well, in fact, originally it was Gene Slanders and the Sidewinders, but we had a few issues with presenters and stuff getting tongue-tied with that. So I always remember, I think we had an interview on BRMB with Charlie.
All right.
Yeah, and she found it a bit difficult to pronounce the name. So we shortened it to the Sidewinders.
Yeah.
And yeah, basically that was a rockabilly sort of band, which we had relative amount of success with that. You know, we did a European tour. We had a record deal with a sort of independent rockabilly label called Nervous Records. But one thing and another, that sort of we dismembered after, you know, a short period of time. But
yes,
we did used to incorporate a few of the the Billy Fury Rocky numbers in our act then. And then somebody just said to me once, well, why don't you try doing a Billy Fury tribute? Because at that time there wasn't really anybody doing that. Yeah, that's what I did.
When did that start? When did you start doing that, Garry?
I think I started doing the tribute probably about 20 years ago. Yeah, around about that 20 years ago.
And I mean, he was one of those singers around the same time as Elvis, of course, and the Beatles, and yet he was, you know, he's one of those artists. I think, you know, for me, he's always been a bit underrated, because at the time I think Elvis came out and there was always this thing that he was kind of impersonating, wasn't it, Elvis?
Yeah.
When in fact that wasn't the case at all, was it?
No. Unfortunately, Billy was he suffered with ill health. He had rheumatic fever when he was a child, and he had to have like 3 major heart operations, which I think hindered his career. But he was the most successful solo artist in the in the sense that, I mean, he had more hit records than any other artist in the 60s, apart from Elvis, obviously, English artists. So that included Cliff and that. But unfortunately, Billy never actually had a #1. His highest chart release was Halfway to Paradise, which got to #2. And in the 80s, he started to make a comeback with Stuart Coleman was a producer.
Right.
And he tried to get him to make a new album, which he did. He made the new album, but unfortunately, he passed away not long after that. So it was quite sad, actually.
Quite sad, because he died quite young, wasn't he? 42, in fact, he died. Same age as Elvis Presley, actually, when he died. And it was, you know, again, did you often feel that he was kind of almost put second best to Elvis? Because obviously you must have studied him as a singer and got really to know about him and his work. Did you often feel that he wasn't really as recognized as he should have been?
Well, in my eyes, he was. I mean, obviously, everybody copied Elvis. It was they were all termed as being Elvis impersonators: Cliff, Marty Wilde, Billy Fury. But I think Billy Fury was quite individual, really, because he was the only artist at the time, pre-Beatles, that was writing his own material. So his first album, which was The Sound of Fury, was all self-written material, which he used a pseudonym. I'm not sure why. It was Wilberforce, but it was actually Billy Fury that wrote all the songs. I'm not sure whether it was for tax reasons or
yes. You won't get into that.
But yeah, so I think, to be honest, out of all the artists, he probably had the most talent, really, in the sense that he actually wrote his own material. And as you said earlier, he was very underrated. I'm not sure why that was. I think his manager Larry Parnes didn't really push him in the right areas where he should have gone. There was a period where he was going to do a pantomime,
right?
And Billy Fury didn't really want to do pantomimes because he was he was a rocker and
yeah, rock and roll. Yes, absolutely.
But I think if maybe he had gone that way, he may have had a bit more success. But then he would have had to have gone into that field of entertainment, really. So
yeah. And as you say, it must have been. What was it like? Performing and being him. What kind of reaction did you get when you went out on stage?
Oh, it was wonderful. I mean, the people, you wouldn't expect to be the amount of people that are like Billy Fury that there are. I mean, that some of the shows, at first I used to do it with Barry Steele, who was a Roy Orbison tribute, and we used to do theatre shows, and they were always full shows. And Billy Fury, he went down really well. The people loved the Billy Fury. I mean, Roy Orbison as well, but Billy Fury, he sort of brought people out to.
It was the music, wasn't it, Gary? I mean, his music was it was rock and roll, and I think rock and roll is still is a tour de force in the music world, isn't it?
Yeah. He was greatly missed, I think, Billy Fury, really.
Yeah, absolutely.
He could have maybe gone on to, do much bigger things.
Yes, but tragically, as we said, died so young. And then, so did that show take you all across the country, Gary, when you did that show?
It did, yes. I performed for Billy's mum, who sadly she only passed away a few years back.
Oh, that must have been wonderful. Tell us about that. That much, she must have been very, very, moved by that.
It was they used to do a Billy Fury weekend in Blackpool. It first started at a place called the Carousel, and then it moved to the Metropole.
Very famous venues, Carousel, Metropole. They're very famous venues, aren't they, for people who don't know that?
Yeah, and this was an event that used to happen every year, and I got asked to perform on these certain events. Not every event, but perhaps every other one. I used to go and perform there. And there was other artists on as well. There was bands on and what have you. And Billy's mum always used to turn up with his brother as well, Albie Wycherley, because Albie at the time was doing a sort of his tribute to his brother, because Albie was a singer in the 60s. He was Jason Eddy. He worked for Joe Meek. He was under the management of Joe Meek.
Yes.
So so anyway, so every time I did these events, it was always performing for Billy's mum, really, which, as you said, was quite, it was nice to think that I was doing something.
Yeah. And what was the most kind of venue that left a really good impression on you, Gary? Where did you go that you really enjoyed being and doing your show?
I did enjoy doing the theatres, because a lot of the theatres, the Metropole was a nice venue to play at, because it was full of Billy Fury fans. That they were there because they loved Billy Fury. And different venues. There was lots of venues all over, really, that I really enjoyed performing at. But perhaps maybe the Metropole holds a special place. Yeah.
Excellent. Well, we're going to continue to talk. We're going to take a quick break now, but stay with us and come back and see me after the break.
Yeah.
Welcome back to Late Night with Monica Price. I'm speaking to Garry Slade. Garry, just talking about Billy Fury, obviously, before the break, but tell us now about what you're doing now, because you've got some exciting things. In fact, we're going to be showing your video. So tell us about what you're doing now and what's coming up in the future for you.
Okay, well, I recently wrote, well, I say recently, it was last year actually, I wrote a song for Halloween, because I thought nobody seems to make Halloween songs anymore.
It's all Christmas,
I mean,
isn't it? It's all Christmas.
yeah. I mean, there was the Monster Mash and stuff like that, but
Yes.
I was just, I actually drive, I do a driving job as well in the daytime.
Yes.
And there's me and another guy, and we take it in turns, alternate days to drive.
Yes.
And so, of course, on the days where you're not driving, it gets pretty boring. So I decided that I was going to write this song. So I actually wrote it in the car, traveling to Blackbush or wherever it was. And yeah, I wrote this song, and then I got one of my old band members, who's a very talented musician. He plays all instruments. I got Zach to actually arrange it for me and play all the instruments on it. And yeah, I got my friend in America, Alan, who's really good with videos. He made a video up for it, and that was it. Basically, we put it together and put it out there, and hopefully it will do, reasonably well. Hopefully.
Well, we're gonna be showing it. It's called The Haunted House Party, isn't it? I've got that title right, haven't I? So is it? And again, you said, because it was meant to be ready for last year, but unfortunately, just things happen, don't they? But for the future for you, Garry, what do you see yourself doing? Are you going to continue now to to write songs and make videos and create more music?
I do enjoy writing songs. Maybe people have said to me about writing a Christmas song, because you've got a
Halloween one.
Oh yeah, but with a Christmas song, you've got a longer period of time to sort of promote it, because
yes, of course,
as we know, Christmas starts 3 months before Christmas now.
It does indeed, absolutely. Yes, that's true. Yeah, but are you hopes to to continue though, to do some more?
Yeah, and obviously I'm going to continue working in entertainment, doing my gigs every week across the country, and yeah, just basically see what happens with especially with this single. And prior to that, I wrote another song which was called Senorita, which was like a spaghetti western sort of rockabilly sort of rock and roll song. So there is some talk about maybe releasing the two on a single, because a lot of the people that are into rock and roll and are purists, and they still like their vinyl.
Yes.
So I may release it as a single.
That would be a good idea. Would you put that onto vinyl if it was released, rather than?
I think so, yeah, because as I said, the people that are purists into the rockabilly and rock and roll stuff, they do like vinyl, so it might be an idea to release the two back to back.
And is rock and roll still very important to you, Garry?
Yeah, it is. Yeah, but there's a lot of people out there that still enjoy the music and go to dances. There's a lot of sort of purist people that do the jitterbug and the Lindy Hop and all this. They have dance classes, and obviously there's a lot. It's very popular still. People don't really realize just how popular it is, but
oh no, it's huge. And I think to be honest, it's getting bigger, because it's kind of spilling over, if you like, because America's always been into rock and roll, of course. Predominantly, really, there's many, but Elvis certainly made sure that was firmly on the scene over there. But over here in the UK, we've always done rock and roll, haven't we?
Yeah, it's always been a major part of the music industry, really.
Do you think? Is there any artists that you see up and coming, Garry, that's kind of caught your eye, that you see as kind of the next kind of rock and roll hero, if you like?
There's an awful lot of artists on the rock and roll circuit, which in all fairness, do deserve to sort of have more recognition than they do. But it's very difficult in today's society, because although I say rock and roll is very popular, it's very popular to a certain type of person or people. The younger people at the moment, I'm not saying that this will never change, but they're more into their modern music, and rock and roll really hasn't got a place for them. But things change. I think that they say that it's something like a 10-year period or something like that where music comes back round. Yes. So I'm not sure really whether anybody will make the breakthrough. Like in the early 80s, there was a lot of bands that came out, the Stray Cats. I mean, Shakin' Stevens.
I was just about to mention that. Yeah, Shakin' Stevens. I mean, he was hugely popular, wasn't he? But I mean, I remember, growing up with, Rock Around the Clock, Bill Haley and the Comets, and and I know now that family members, and when there's a party, you put that on and everybody's up dancing.
Yeah, it's feel good music.
I was just about to say, it is a feel good music, isn't it? You cannot sit still or not tap your foot when you put something like that on.
Yeah, that's right. It just makes you feel happy. Yeah, it's not doom and gloom. No doom and gloom.
No, which we've had enough of that. So it's lovely. Well, listen, Garry, thank you so much for joining me tonight. It's been an absolute pleasure speaking to you. Thank you. And we're going to now show your video. So would you like to introduce your video to the audience?
Yeah, this is Haunted House Party by Gene Slanders and the Zach Mundo Combo.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. Thank you to my guests to joining me tonight. Come back and join me again next week, and happy Halloween.
I die soon, like when Dada hit Rabbit on head with stone. Now there's an old haunted house at the end of our street, where the rocking ghost fraternity they always meet. Well, old Dracula will greet you when you knock on the door. Frankenstein's creatures tearing up the dance floor. You got the Wolfman swinging from a chandelier, and the mummy's winding down with an ice cold beer. Well, Jack the Ripper's bopping with his big sharp knife, and if you see Michael Myers, better run for your life. But you'll never know it if you've never been to a haunted house party on a Halloween. Now Freddy Krueger's chopping up the fruit for the punch, and Hannibal Lecter hears you down for a lunch, and the Invisible Man, he is bound to be there. But you'll never know it till he jives with a chair. And you'll never know it if you've never been to a haunted house party on a Halloween. Alright, let's go. Ghost of Elvis laying down a tune. Thank you very much. And all the likers go crazy when he sings Blue Moon. And there's Jekyll and Hyde who have started a fight. In walks Morticia and she turns on the light. But you'll never know it if you've never been to a haunted house party on a cats, cause I'm talking to you. Well, if you wanna join the party, here's what you must do. Go put your zombie face on and make with the scene, and join the haunted house party on Halloween. Cause there's a haunted house party. Yeah, there's a haunted house party. Well, it's a haunted house party. Yeah, a haunted house party. Well, you never know it if you've never been to a haunted house party on a Halloween.
I die soon, like when Dada hit Rabbit on head with stone.